Rob Truman has over 40 years experience in information technology and internet related fields. He's worked as a technical support professional for Microsoft over the years. Rob holds a master's of art degree in adult education and a bachelor of science degree in information technology. He runs a website blog called Geezer Tech, which focuses on helping the senior community with their technology needs. Rob also volunteers and teaches adult education technology classes throughout his local community, college, and their lifelong learning program, New Adventures in Learning, which is called New Adventures in Learning. He comes to us as a member of the APCUG Speakers Bureau.
Oh, thanks, Huey. Appreciate it. I caught some of your questions. I'm going to try to address some of them throughout the presentation. It's not a long presentation. I distilled it down to what I really consider probably some of the most important questions to ask when you make that jump and decide you're going to replace your machine. So let me share this out. If you have questions during this, by all means, let me know. I will try to address it as much as I can. And then, of course, we have ample time at the end for any Q&A that you care to do. Okay, let's see here. All right, you should be seeing the screen.
Yes. And you're spotlighted. Do you want to stay spotlighted?
Nah, not
I'll
in
remove
fact,
the
I was,
okay.
and I was going to turn off my video altogether. All right. So, computer buying guide. In my opinion, the very first question, well, anyway, this is a little bit about myself, which Huey already gave you most of that. If you have questions after I depart today, you're more than welcome to contact me. There's my website address, my email. And so if something occurs to you after the fact, reach out. I'll do my best to answer your question. So, very first thing that I always recommend to people is to define what it is you want a computer for. In other words, what is it you're going to be doing with it? Because that to me is the most important question you can answer, and probably one of the most difficult ones. So define what your use case will be. Do you need to run applications, or will most of all your use be via the internet? I'm going to guess that probably a good percentage of you tonight, 99.9% of everything you do is online. Another question you may want to, are you going to be editing or creating video content? Will you be doing online video chat? What are your security concerns? All of these questions you need to kind of help direct you into what type of machine you need to purchase. Do you want a desktop? Do you want a laptop? Do you want a tablet? One of the things that I've kind of noticed just here recently, that has been kind of evolving as we get deeper and deeper into this, is that most people don't necessarily need a computer. And what I'm getting at is that a lot of your portable computing devices are more than adequate, and a lot of people aren't just as happy with that. This is kind of breaking down desktops, okay? And you can probably pick up a reasonable desktop anywhere from the $300 to $1,500 price range. Just depends on what you want. They're reliable. Generally speaking, they're going to be less expensive because you're not, doesn't include the monitor. It is just the tower unit. And of course, they're much less portable. Then we come to laptops. They are convenient because you can pretty much travel with them. They have gotten a lot lighter over the years because I remember how much my first laptop weighed, and it was a pretty hefty machine. They are more expensive than desktops, and they are much harder to repair or upgrade. Battery life is going to vary. A good rule of thumb, 5 to 6 hours, in my opinion. Much more than that, I think you're going to be lucky. Now that what you're going to find on most advertisement is they're going to give you the standby battery life, which is going to be much higher. They usually have a smaller screen, fewer external ports than the traditional desktop. The big thing here is and even more so today. I remember my first laptop, pop off a cover on the back and you could replace the battery. They were a lot easier to get into, say, if you wanted to upgrade how much RAM was in, RAM memory was in the box. That's less and less true today. In fact, I think on some of your lower cost laptops, everything is essentially soldered to the board. You can't replace the battery, and on some of them, you can't even change the amount of RAM memory that's included. And you cannot change, I've even seen some where the actual hard drive or SSD is soldered to the motherboard. Then we got tablets. They're portable, they're light, easy to take with you. They usually include a webcam. Again, some of the cons is a smaller screen, even fewer external ports, and some have no external ports at all other than the charging port. Now, I will mention that charging port, say like on a Samsung or iPad, is a multi-port. So you can use it for, different connections, whether you're just trying to charge or where you actually want to access, say, an external hard drive or a thumb drive, so forth and so on. Typically, you'll find iOS or Android operating systems, and this is maybe a make or break point for some people. They do not run Windows applications natively. Now, it doesn't mean you can't access say Microsoft Office applications on the web. That works just fine. Chromebooks, they're inexpensive devices. They can be a great alternative to a laptop. They do have limitations. As I remember, Chromebooks really got their popularity because the public school system really embraced these as devices that they could purchase cheaply and issue to students. Chromebooks do use Chrome OS, and if you have an Android device, this is gonna look really, really familiar to you. Most of them have touchpads and keyboards. Um, they're lower end models, and I could be wrong on what I'm going to just say here shortly, but you can still pick up a Chromebook, a brand new Chromebook, for around $200. Okay. Now, you are getting a lower end device. And what really, I think, makes Chromebooks stand out over other types of hardware is that 64 megabytes is pretty much the onboard storage. And you're going to find most of those lower end Chromebooks will have 4 megabytes of RAM. Yeah. Now, Chromebooks have gotten quite popular, and you can spend more money than that, and you can get more onboard memory, more onboard storage. But they are initially designed to work, be connected to the internet, where you're storing most of your documents using cloud storage. So here's the steps. Pick your poison, pick your OS. You know, then start looking at processors. How much RAM do you need? How much storage space? Check that you have the types of ports that your current peripherals need. And then we'll go over a couple things on webcams and other things you may want to consider. So, operating systems. These are probably the 4 major ones that you're going to run into. And which OS, is best for you. Thinking what your software you need to run, is going to really point you into the direction of picking an OS. For all intents and purposes, there are, I want to say, 2 primary companies that make laptop processors, but there's more than that. But Intel and AMD is who you're going to probably see the most on. Now, Apple makes their own processor. I'm trying to. I believe Samsung's even looking into this arena as well, but I know Apple makes their own processor chips for their line of computer and tablets. So, which one to buy? Generally speaking, and this is this whole presentation is kind of top down to just kind of help you get started so you're able to make heads or tails out of those advertisements you see on Amazon. Talking about Intel processors, they start out with an i3, and those, if you go to Walmart, those are the majority of those laptops you're going to see there, or even some desktops are going to be i3. They're budget processors. Okay. Then it moves up to i5, then i7, and now there's also i9s out there. And as the number gets larger, so does the performance and responsiveness of the device. But if you're looking for the cheapest, then my recommendation, don't get anything less than an i5, because I think at some point you're going to end up not being happy with it. AMD, They're pretty much named the same: 3, 5, 7, and 9. I've heard people talk. I love AMDs. I love Intels, back and forth, and they both do a really good job. And for the most part, for general computing, either one will do, I think, a excellent job either in a desktop or on a laptop. I could be wrong, and if someone knows more about this, I'm more than willing to turn it over to them if this is a conversation we need to have. This is how they say Intel labels their processors. So first of all, you're going to see the brand modifier. Excuse me. Then the first, I'm sorry. The first two numbers after the brand modifier will be the generation indicator. And then you have the actual SKU of the processor. And then following, you may or may not have a product suffix. This is a great website. And what it does is it allows you to compare processors. As the slide says, they have over 3,100 CPU models, and it's updated daily. But CPUbenchmark.net, you can go up there, and you may just want to go up to the website and find out what processor you currently have and see how it rates. Next, how much RAM do I need? Give me 1 second here. All right, I want to. So Mr. Parker here put in chat that AMD blew past Intel quite a while ago, and I would probably agree with you as well. AMDs make really good processors. They're great, and I think they're more than adequate for probably anything you're going to do. So RAM. Rule of thumb, the more the merrier. RAM stands for random access memory, and it's what your laptop or desktop uses to hold the data while the processor is operating the instructions. In other words, RAM is if I want to do something with Word. Okay, I'm going to start Word, and I'm going to click on the icon, and basically what happens underneath everything is that program gets loaded into RAM memory, and that's where it operates from. One quote I found is just think of RAM as your desk. If your desk is too small, things fall off and you can't work on them. And that's fairly true. The more RAM you have installed, so if you like to do a lot of multitasking or you're running some applications that require an intense amount of computations, then more RAM is better. Now, I think at some point you're going to reach the point of dwindling returns. If I'm buying a computer today, I don't think I would look at much less than 16. And they say Windows will work on 8, but I'm not sure you would want to. So here's a little bit of a guide. If you're just going to be doing some casual internet browsing, email, listen to music, watching videos, 8 GB will probably get you by. If you're going to start doing more word processing, Microsoft Office or other office suites, gaming, any type of games, music, video, multitasking, then we're going to move up into the 16 GB range. We're starting to get into graphic design, professional gamers, 3D modeling, heavy duty multitasking. Uh, then that'll take it up to 32. You can get, there's systems out there you can get 64 and more. And Chrome OS, basically 4 GB of RAM. I know now there are Chrome boxes out there that I believe will come with 8. And it does make that Chrome OS a lot more responsive. This is probably one of the big questions. How much storage you get in your machine, you're probably going to be hard pressed to find a machine to buy today that has less than a terabyte of internal storage. You can probably still find some 500 GB boxes out there. You might even find one with 250, but they're rare. Probably the most common choice you're going to find are machines that have a solid state drive or SSD. And again, you may find some budget laptops out there still using the traditional spinning mechanical hard drives. I'd avoid those. I personally like SSDs primarily because they seem to be a lot more responsive and quicker. And if there's a weight concern, that's also may help you with your decision making. Here, another little breakdown. Like I say, you can get, and plus you can get machines with more than a terabyte. I think a lot of this you need to ask yourself, where am I going to be storing my information? Or how much information do I have that I need to store? Either one of those, I think, are real good questions to ask yourself. If you're primarily going to be using an external, say an external hard drive for storage or cloud storage, then that to me tells me that you may not need as much onboard or internal storage on the machine. Ports. This is a kind of a diagram of what you're going to find on different machines. Just about everything that I can think of off the top of my head is going to come with USB-C today. You'll still find a couple, and most of those may have a USB-A port, but not necessarily true across the board. They're all going to have some sort of HDMI, whether that's a full-size HDMI port or an HDMI mini. When it comes into tablets, there's, as I said previously, a lot of those USB-C ports on tablets are multi-function ports. You still can find tablets out there that use a micro SD card for additional storage. Those are getting a little bit few and far between at times. And yes, there are still devices that you can buy today that actually have an audio jack. and Ethernet ports. So, of course, you definitely will want a webcam on your laptop or your tablet. There are still some laptops that don't have them. You may, one of the good things is one type of laptop that's available out there. And again, this becomes a choice that you will need to make, and they're essentially called two-in-ones. So they function as both a laptop, which is the diagram that you're currently looking at, or you can fold the keyboard back and use it as a tablet. So it's kind of, as it says, it's a two-in-one. So when to replace? Out of space. One thing I probably want to mention here when it comes to internal storage. You're probably going to find your best performance on your machine when you have less than probably 60% of your internal storage being used. And the reason for this, and I'm going to give you the very simple reason, is that the more you fill up that internal storage or that hard drive or that SSD, then the processor has to look harder to find the information that you're looking for. And that takes time. Not a lot of time, but it still does take time. Your computer's just really slow, and nothing you do can make it any faster. You can't upgrade your OS or run new software. I heard this conversation as I joined your meeting tonight. I would, say that depending on whether you're actually running applications on your machine or whether you want to use the web applications, might make a difference whether you even need Windows. You turn your machine on and it's making weird noises. Probably, may want to, either look at getting that repaired. I'm not a big repair advocate because most times if you're getting a machine, if you're not repairing it yourself and you're taking it somewhere else to get repaired, the chances are that you're going to spend a couple $100, and what you're going to end up with is, after spending that money, is an old machine that works. There's, I think, better options available. Because in most times it would cost more to upgrade or fix your computer than it is to replace it these days. Computers have basically gotten to the point of being a disposable commodity. And that's, in a lot of ways, it's too bad, but of course, that increases the manufacturer's profit line. So, putting it all together, if you start looking at ads, you're going to go out and you're going, hopefully now you can discern a little bit of what we're seeing here. So in this ad, I just grabbed and I added this probably within the last couple of weeks. So this is an i7 processor, and yeah, I can go to that website and I can put that information, the 1255U, on that website, and I can find out a little bit about it, about where it rates compared to other processors. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM, a terabyte SSD, webcam, HDMI, Wi-Fi 6, and it comes with Windows 11 Home. And if I come down to here, pretty much gives me the same information. It also has an integrated graphics card. Screen size is monitor size is 15.6 inches, and gives me the model and who makes it. And then I can look and I can see what ports are available. This one actually does have a combo audio jack. When they say combo audio jack, what they're referring to is that I can plug a microphone or a headset in there and it will differentiate between the two. It does have USB-C 3.2 generation, and it has two Type A ports, one 2.0 gen and one 3.2. And then it also has an HDMI port. So when's the best time to buy? And as you may have guessed, it's Black Friday. Now, we can thank Amazon for kind of diluting the Black Friday experience, as they seem to be having their prime sales throughout the year. But still, Black Friday traditionally is when you're going to probably find somewhere between 20 to 50% price reductions, which is why I end up doing this presentation this time of the year more than any other time. Here's some resources. More buying guides that will help walk you through, that you're more than welcome to use as a resource. And that brings us to Q&A, where I'm happy to entertain questions, comments, concerns, and snide remarks if required.
And if you have a question, by all means, go to the React button down at the bottom and click the raise your hand. Steve Parker, you're the first. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was one other port that was sort of in there, but not quite, was the one that they combined the display port with the USB-C port. So you've actually
Right.
got a USB-C DP connector.
Well, actually, and I think, in my opinion, that's why USB-C is kind of taking the front seat here, is that the USB-C technology will transmit pretty much any type of signal, which I really like. And it does lend itself well to getting a docking station to run multiple monitors or just external hard drives, whatever the case may be.
Jim Cerny, your hand is up.
Yes, I think I'm unmuted.
You are.
All right, I want to make sure my microphone is down. Here we go. If I went to the middle of the road, I don't want the cheapest, and I don't want a gamer, super gamer computer, and I'm just going down the middle that you think most people would be satisfied. What price range are we talking about?
That one ad I showed you, that was like right around $600 price range.
Okay.
I would say that you could probably find somewhere, I would say between the 5 to 7, and you will end up, I think, bringing home a machine that you'll be relatively happy with, and it will perform so you're not turning it on and going making a sandwich and coming back and still waiting for it to boot up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it would be fairly responsive, probably handle all whatever needs that you may have, As I mentioned, I would recommend, if you can find a machine in your price range, say with 16 gigabytes of RAM, then I think you're probably walking away with a fairly, reasonable box.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
I'm next. Uh, uh, Rob, what's your opinion? The big advertisement now are the Copilot Plus PCs. What's your opinion of what they are and the value of them, or what people might want one for or not want one?
All right, this is I did not pay you to ask this question, okay? But this is the reason that I built a Linux box. Because it seems like the major manufacturers are really pushing AI, and I'm not a big fan. I think AI there's some certain really good uses for it, but I wanted just a machine without it. And now most Linux distributions will allow you to use AI should you so desire, but it's still your choice. Microsoft, I believe, here with the latest, what is it, the 24H
Yeah,
release?
24H2. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
out yet, but it's coming.
Well, no, it's out because I just put it on one of my machines. Now that's going to include a piece called recall. Now it's only going to affect ARM processors in the beginning, but by the end of the year, you're probably going to be seeing it getting rolled out to AMD and Intel processors as well. It is an AI. Basically, they're going to be making copy of your hard drives, as my understanding. They're touting it as a recall system, and I'm sure they're going to tell me how much more secure my machine is because of it. I'm just old fashioned and I wanted a machine, so I chose Linux. And if it's something that you're in, I know you guys do a bunch. I know Howie does a bunch with stuff with Linux. There's some really good Linux distributions out there that I don't think you can tell the difference, but they are so close to Windows that the Linux desktop has come a long way. So anyway, that's my pitch on Linux.
Okay, the Copilot Plus computers, it's my opinion and my understanding that it's for doing a lot of the AI stuff locally on your computer instead of in the cloud. And I don't think I know I'm not interested in doing that, and
Right.
probably most people here wouldn't be. So it's a lot of extra expense that you probably shouldn't consider, especially the fact that it's brand new and it's going to change a lot anyway.
And I think, and personally, I totally expect that over a very short amount of time, you're not going to be able to find a non Copilot machine. Just like you're going to be hard pressed to probably couldn't go out there and find a lot of machines that still got a VGA port. Eventually it's a lot of, I think these manufacturers are just going to push the AI into all of their products. And of course, the manufacturers are going to follow suit. And so, which I think is too bad. I mean, I think, I like having the choice, as you say.
Yeah, Sally, you have your hand up.
Yeah, hi. First off, thank you so much for your presentation. I would be interested in whatever you can say regarding the fact that I need a new PC. I don't have all the info, but it is a Dell G5. It's a gamer computer, I understand. It says it has Intel Core i7 9th gen. I don't know how much RAM I have.
Okay.
I bought this. I love it. It's got ports all over the place. I bought it because I do some video editing. So lots of large files. I do not use the cloud. I'm avoiding that as much as possible. But I'm also developing an online photography business. So I do have a new website. I want to learn how to use QR codes, and I want to be posting some items on YouTube. I understand
Okay.
with QR codes, it's something it has to be. Does that have to be in the cloud, or can it just be on YouTube? That's one thing I'm not sure of just yet.
Well, all right. Let's roll this back a couple steps.
Okay.
Okay. YouTube is in the cloud.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So any type of web application or any type of web service is cloud based. Okay. And the definition that I usually use when it comes to cloud computing, cloud storage, whatever the case may be, cloud storage is nothing more than a hard drive somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So whether that's with Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive, or and there's various other companies out there that their names elude me right now. That's all cloud storage is. So you either save your stuff locally or you save your stuff remotely. So if you want to use YouTube, you have no choice but to basically use cloud computing. The QR code is nothing more than a graphical representation of a URL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can take a photo or scan that QR code, and it automatically will take me to that particular website or that location, on the internet. So I don't know if that helps. Now, it sounds like you have a fairly beefy computer already.
I do, but
So,
it keeps crashing.
oh, okay. All right.
So
No, I just want to be sure that,
yeah, I have had to the guys I bought it from, it's a computer store, local computer
right.
store in a small town, and they have been able to I don't even know what the terms are, but salvage it, save it back, so from crashing. But I'm
Uh-huh.
getting, like you say, it's getting to be, costly to do that. I also have a few keys that are sticking. So, and the thing weighs a ton.
I'm
Um,
sure it sounds like you got your money's worth out of
I think I did. I've had it for 5 years.
it.
Um,
So, but I would say the specs that you're telling me
mhm,
is probably what I guess I would probably look in the same neighborhood.
okay.
If you already have an i7, I don't see, I would maybe look at the AMD Ryzen 7 or an Intel i7. Get as much RAM as you can afford.
Yeah.
Um,
And like I
you
said,
know,
I don't remember what my RAM is on this, and
right.
I don't know how to check, but I'm
Well,
sure
if you go into if you run your machine and you go, one of you guys are going to have to help me with this, to the search bar and you type sysinfo, SYSINFO, that should bring up your specs.
You can also use Bellark Advisor as a good way of getting a
Right.
whole list
So,
of.
yeah, it's sysinfo. It'll tell you how much RAM's installed. It'll tell you about your processor and so forth and so on. I mean,
yeah.
and there's other third-party, applications that will help do the same thing. So,
Yeah, I knew there was something very simple, but I just never remember what it is.
right.
But thank you for refreshing my memory on that, because
No,
um
and so I would probably take a look at, if you're happy with what you have, and and when I say that, I'm referring to its performance,
Mm-hmm.
and responsiveness. Then I would maybe beef up the amount of RAM depending on what you currently have,
Mm-hmm.
and stick with an i7 or a Ryzen 7 from AMD. And I think you'll
So,
probably be pretty happy with that.
so don't go up to a 9.
I, from what you're doing, I don't think it's warranted.
Okay.
Okay.
And what would warrant a 9?
A lot more, requiring a lot more computing power than what
Uh-huh.
you're doing.
Okay.
Okay. Because what you just recited to me, and this may be interesting to other people, is that most of the stuff that you're looking at doing is related to the internet.
Hmm.
Okay. You want to do YouTube, therefore that's that's cloud storage,
Uh-huh.
an i7, you're probably going to have no problem doing video creation. And I know Healy's does a lot of that. I would be talking to him and see what kind of, software he might be running to help you down that road.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Okay.
a couple of questions, Sally. Are you doing video editing now?
I have not been doing it for a while, but I want to keep that capacity, that capability.
Then an i7 or an i9, either one
Yeah.
you should be fine with I would get the 32 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay, so 64 is not necessary?
No, I don't run 64, and I do a lot of video editing.
Okay.
I mean, I do some occasional editing, and I mean, I'm running like an i7 with 16 gigs, and it's, but
Yeah.
I'm not doing a lot. So, or, but it really kind of just depends,
Yeah.
on how deep down that rabbit hole you plan on going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the Intel what'd you say, 9 you have? Ninth
Oh, no,
generation, I think you said. No, she
no,
said,
It's well, it's Core
oh,
i7 ninth generation.
yeah, they're up to the 14th generation now. The ninth generation was 2018. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
so they really improved. And there's also a couple of other processors that have become popular. You did mention the ARM, and the other one is the Qualcomm,
mhm.
are some that you might run into as well. They're all comparable, depends upon what the machine is and so on. A lot of the Copilot machines have ARM in them. That it probably isn't as good as for video editing that you might want to have. You might want to look for an Intel or an AMD.
Okay, and then so
Uh,
what generation
but,
is the i7, the Intel i7? Did
Well,
you,
well,
all of them, the latest one is 14.
okay.
yeah, I mean, I would probably, if you're replacing a machine, 13, generation 13, 12, 13, 14, somewhere in that range, just, and of course, the generation of the processor you choose will also impact the overall cost of the machine.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
You know, it's kind of like buying the latest model of car. But I would take a look at the website, and for instance, on one of my machines, I'm running an i5, but it's got 6 cores, okay, in that processor, which is like running 6 CPUs or single core
Hmm.
CPUs. So there's, you know, keep in mind that, and I think the website that I mentioned, that CPU benchmark, I don't know if I got the name right, um, will help, because I've seen i5 processors that will outperform i7s or low end i7s from performance amount levels.
Hmm.
So, and I highly recommend, if you're shopping, find out what processor's in there and do a little bit of research,
Okay.
and, compare.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate all your time.
No, glad to help.
Dave, Solomonsky, you're
Close
next.
enough, close enough. I notice with laptops, they're all powered by USB-C connectors now. And most of them are around 45 to 100 watts, depending on the laptop. Can you plug other devices USB in it, and will that adapter scale down to the proper amperage for that, let's say iPhone or whatever else you plug into? Well, the compatibility among USB-C connectors with other devices.
I have never blown anything up unintentionally with USB-C. Okay. I really like them, and I think that was one of the reasons that Apple got forced into switching all of their products over to USB-C. Now, of course, the EU had a big, hand in that process, but all of your new Apple devices are USB-C now, and it seems to be the kind of de facto standard. But I've never had an issue with an issue like what you're describing, or having to worry about amperage when plugging something in.
Yeah, I've had Chromebooks. Some of them come with the USB-C power supply, and and I've used that same power supply to charge my phone, which also uses USB-C. So most of the items, whether they be the desktop, or I should say laptop, or your phones and so on, they have things in them that protect it. It'll only use so much power, and then it stops it.
I think what you're going to find more, or what may be more common, is how fast it charges. And that's going to be based on the rating of the actual power adapter, more so than anything built into the phone or the laptop. I mean, would you agree with that, Huey?
Yeah.
I mean, because I know Samsung makes a fast charging adapter. Actually, it comes with, as well as a lot of other manufacturers, just to be able to, so it's not sitting in there trickle charging, when you want to get this thing done and out. Hope that helps a little bit, Dave.
Your hand's still up, Dave. Is there anyone else that has a question for Rob about buying a computer, or what you have? Should you buy one? What should you buy? The question earlier was about tablets. I have a tablet, I have a Chromebook, and I have a PC, and I use them all for different purposes. I love my tablet because it's light, it's easy to use, but it's not a computer. There's a lot of things I can't do. I can't do any of the video editing, and it's not as easy to do even photo editing. And so I tend to use my PC for most of those kind of things.
And I will mention one other thing, that the newer, all right, I'm sorry about my constant forgetfulness. I'm still combating jet lag from my last trip overseas. But Samsung's tablets, and I think everything after an S8, give me just a second here. They come with what's called Samsung DeX, and it is a built-in, if you can plug your tablet or your phone into an external monitor, and what you end up getting with Samsung DeX is basically a Chromebook interface. And I like it. It works well. It's an easy way to convert some mobile computing onto a bigger screen. You can hook up an external monitor and a mouse, and you pretty much can travel without lugging a lot of stuff around with you. So anyway, just food for thought. It is available on most upper end Samsung devices, and it is something that I don't know. I'm not sure if it's available on, say, like Google Pixel phones, but I know it is available on Samsung, and it's just called Samsung DEX, and it is basically a Chromebook interface.
Yeah, one of our members, Drew, did a session on that. I think we have a recording, I have a recording somewhere on it. It does a nice job.
It's very slick. Yeah.
One thing, if you're buying a new computer and you're considering getting a laptop, bear in mind if it's never going to leave your home and you don't need to carry it around in your home, you probably are better off with a desktop than you would be with a laptop because they're easier to fix. It's easier to get parts for them if something breaks down. It's just in the long run, I would recommend doing that as opposed to getting a laptop, especially if you're going to use an external or you want a bigger monitor.
I'm a big fan of these mini PCs. So basically, it's a desktop in a small case, and had really good luck with it.
Yeah, I've had two of them, and they actually can fit right on the back of your monitor. You don't even have to have it on the desk. Yeah.
So a lot of good options out there. Just kind of, and unfortunately, it all boils down to you making a decision.
Yeah, my other suggestion I always make is the first time that you go out looking in the stores, if you go to Costco or Sam's or Best Buy or whatever your local computer store is, don't take your checkbook, don't take your credit card with you, take your phone so you can take some pictures of some of the ones that you're considering and then go home and do some homework on each of them. Because otherwise, what happens is you start getting confused. And if you buy one, you might have thought that was the one that has the USB-C and it isn't, and so on. You'll get confused real easily. So if you take pictures with your phone and go home and then start doing some research on each of them, then decide what you want. Tom Odell, you have your hand up.
Now I can talk. I want to buy a desktop, and I want to run 3 monitors on the desktop. And what should I be looking for? I'm thinking that I need to make sure that I have enough space I can put in a video card for more display ports. So I need to look at for something that has 3 display ports.
Well, I mean, that's one way to go. Okay. Another way to go is to basically take whatever the desktop you decide on, plug in a docking station, which they come in all sizes and shapes that will handle additional monitors, and that's another way to go. I would probably do a cost comparison of what's going to work best for you, but it's probably not. You're probably going to be looking, if you're looking for 3 displays, you're probably going to be looking at a gaming desktop.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, that's probably where you're going to find your best, maybe out of the box type solution without reconfiguring a lot of stuff.
And just add that docking station, and that will do it for me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm running this. It's basically a mini PC, and it has capability of 2 ports. I can easily just plug in through USB-C a docking station, and basically it's not even a docking station. What I would classify as, it's just more of a USB port with video,
Hub
and
extension.
it's a little bit larger than a business card, size, and I can add another monitor to it. So,
And they just have the display ports, 3 or 4 display ports that you can plug a VGA card into, or your
right. What you may want to look at is these mini PCs, because a lot of those are coming with up to 3 monitor ports or display
okay.
ports. You may have 2 display ports and an HDMI port.
Which you could the HD you can mix and match those together then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So, and then you can, kind of do whatever configuration you're looking
So
for.
if you had one HDMI and 2 videos, then I'd be home free.
You're
Okay,
good to go.
Thank you so
Yep.
much for your assistance and your good lecture, please. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Steve, you're the last question of the night.
Okay. Are there any mini PCs that have enough room in them for a high-end graphics card?
I haven't seen any. Okay. Most of the one, and I'm not going to say that that's not the case. But most of the ones that I've come across have been more onboard graphics. Okay. And then there's expansion room for storage or RAM, in these. But I haven't seen one where you could change out the graphics card.
Okay.
I agree.
So, not saying that they're not there. It's just I haven't come across them. It's all yours, Huey.
All right, I dropped off the internet twice in this, and then came right back, so everything's fine. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Rob, for a great presentation.
Glad to help out.
I'm sure it's still confusing to those people who don't know what they want. It is a confusing thing because it's like buying a car. There's just so many choices and so many combinations of things, and it's best to do a lot of research. Don't just go in and buy something because it's on sale.
Take your time. Now's a great time to start because Black Friday's approaching, and get a good idea of what you're looking for.
What component do you usually start with? The CPU or the GPU
I'm more
or the
concerned about
motherboard?
processing power. So I usually start with the CPU. That to me is, actually what I start with is the type of CPU I want. So whether that's an i5, i7, i9, AMD, 5, 7, or 9, and then I start narrowing my search down from there.
Okay.
Okay, thank you again, Rob, for
Sure.
a good session, a lot of good Q&A.
I have one
Bill,
quick question.
Okay, Bill, final question.
Okay.
There's 3 fairly popular makers of them, Lenovo, Dell, and HP. How would you rank those 3 in terms of popularity or?
Well, Dell makes very good systems. Okay. I like Asus personally. With Lenovo, essentially IBM under a new name. So if you like the ThinkPad type, layout, then Lenovo may be the way you want to go. And up until recently, I would never have recommended HP, but recently I've read some articles that they're making some really, really good products. And so, I think a lot of this is personal taste. you know, because I think in the consumer marketplace, it's 6 of one, half a dozen another a lot of times.
So
Yeah,
they're
when people
total
ask-
commodities, you're saying.
Yeah, it
When
really is. Go ahead.
When people ask me what brand should they buy, I say, well, if you're looking for a car, do you want a Chevrolet or a Ford? Uh, you know, it's some people like one, some people like the other. Sometimes
Right.
sometimes it'll be a good one, sometimes it'll be a fixer repair daily.
Yeah, and I mean, the only reason I like Aces is I've had really good luck with Aces.
Yeah.
You know, so and I kind of tend to stick with what I know. Um, you know, and it is. I think buying a computer and buying a car is a great analogy. You know, because it is very similar. It's just like you don't expect your car to run if you don't do the maintenance. So, and a lot of that holds true for computers as well.
Yeah, I have HP, I have Dell and Asus computers, a few other odds and ends, but those three are, as far as I'm concerned, the top makers and usually have pretty good support, especially HP and Dell.
Now, the reason I kind of, and I real quickly, the reason I leaned towards Asus, because in the early days of Asus, they were not putting as much bloatware or crapware on their machines as what, say, HP was. Now, that may not be the case anymore. I know, but at that particular time, I was more concerned about all this other crap that companies were installing on their machines.
Yeah, but I usually, and I'm a tech, I wipe out what they install and I put on my own copy of the operating system and my own software.
Oh no, and I do the same thing because I have a very watered down version of Windows 11 that I install that has basically nothing other than a browser on it, and then I build from there. But that's probably, as you say, Tim, that's not the average user.
No,
Okay,
So
again,
anyway,
Rob, thank you. Everybody, thank
okay.
you for coming and attending. This has been the Sarasota Technology User Group Wednesday presentation meeting for October. And don't forget the classes that we've got coming up. Make sure you contact Bill Crow or Jim Cerny, and also check out the different uh, programs that I'm on. So with that, we'll say good night and thank you for coming.